Alright, boa tarde a todos e a todas. Eu sou o Átila, eu sou orientador do Education USA na PUC Rio de Janeiro. É um prazer estar em mais um evento, mais um webinar organizado pelo Education USA junto a uma instituição de ensino superior nos Estados Unidos. Hoje a gente tem o prazer de ouvir diretamente da Sara Benbenek Saborio, de Wisconsin Madison, da University of Wisconsin Madison, que vai falar hoje para a gente sobre programas de verão, né, como escolher um programa de verão apropriado que é o seu best fit. Esse evento está sendo gravado, vai estar disponível para os nossos seguidores da nossa página no YouTube e estamos muito interessados para ver o que a Sara tem para compartilhar com a gente hoje. Como sempre, peço que vocês, por favor, mantenham seus microfones desligados durante a apresentação e a gente vai ter uma chance de ouvir respostas às perguntas que vocês tiverem no final do evento. Então, por favor, usem a opção de chat para fazer as suas perguntas, tá bom? Without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Sarah, and we're really excited to hear what you have to share with us today, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Bembenek Sawario, as you already know, and I work with the University of Wisconsin Madison. And I really appreciate you joining me this afternoon just to learn a little bit more about kind of summer study opportunities in the United States in general, and then also very specifically looking at some opportunities on our campus for students that are pre-college as well as college students to have the opportunity to come abroad and study at a U.S. university over the course of our summer. So I want to start by just showing you quick, this slide you see at the beginning is a picture of our campus. As you may see or note that actually Madison is the capital of Wisconsin, and so our campus, which is kind of more down here, connects with our center, like our downtown. And so we have a really unique campus in that those two kind of components of the government and our educational kind of center of our state are both in the same place, and it provides a unique opportunity to learn and integrate into the community of Madison. So over the next little while, what I would like to do is take a minute here. Let me advance my slide. Is to just talk briefly with you about kind of specifically short-term programs in the United States and how to, in general, not just at UW-Madison, find one that might be a good fit for you. Then I'd like to transition more specifically into our campus in particular and talk to you a little bit about Madison and about UW-Madison, and then also look at specifically short-term programs for undergraduate students and pre-college students. And also some of those being credit courses that are available over the course of the summer. So throughout the presentation, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and at the end we'll have time to answer those. And I'm more than happy to stay on after it as long as needed in order to answer any questions that you may have. So I'm going to actually turn off my video just for the course because I sometimes find it distracting to have a video in the corner of my screen. But I am here and I will now advance to the next slide and we'll get started. So let's take a look first at kind of summer programs and how in general you as potentially an international student or an advisor who's advising students about coming abroad in the US summer, how you could go about kind of looking at the opportunities that are available. So I think the first thing to consider, of course, is knowing that there are many different types of programs, right? Many programs. There are non-credit programs, which means that you come and they present the opportunity for you to experience life on campus, potentially dapple or kind of experience a couple different aspects of being a student at a university, but they aren't credit bearing, so you don't necessarily earn credit during your time in the program. It's more of an opportunity to really explore what it's like to have an academic experience in the US. Then there are, of course, English language programs, which are programs, of course, that help cater to those looking to drastically improve their English. And those tend to be intensive programs that can sometimes vary in duration. So you can sometimes get them as short as several weeks. Sometimes you can extend them throughout the entire summer, so several months. But there are different opportunities to expand on your language skills. Then there's, of course, credit programs. There are credit programs. Credit programs are those programs, right, that are meant for you as an international student or for the international student to earn credit that will hopefully transfer back to your home institution. And then, as I already mentioned, in all of these arenas are the opportunity for pre-college programs. So there are pre-college programs that sometimes can help you earn college credit. Sometimes there are pre-college programs, meaning high school student programs, that are just non-credit and more for the experience. But pre-college kind of by itself is another type of program that's available to students. Now, what might be some of the benefits of choosing to come to a summer program in the US versus maybe a semester program or a year-long program? And I think actually that the summer opportunities provide a lot of really outstanding benefits for a student. The first of which is it gives you kind of a small taste of a specific university. So if you're potentially interested in graduate school in the States at an institution and you want to see if that institution is in fact something that appeals to you or is a good fit for you, a summer program is a great kind of short-term, low-commitment way to test out that university and see if it works for you. It also gives you the chance, if you maybe don't have the opportunity for a variety of reasons to go to a longer program, it still gives you the chance to have kind of an intensive short-term experience that can help you to demonstrate, right, that you have an interest in a specific field or at a specific institution or just in general in studying in the United States, which may be of benefit to you when you apply to certain programs in the future or for a reference in a job experience. So just the experience of going abroad, even if it is just for a summer program, can be of great benefit as far as referencing it for something in the future. Additionally, it gives you the chance to immerse yourself in the US, right? So, and that can be on a variety of levels, right? The language, of course, just what it's like to be a student, get an understanding of what academic life is like, the opportunities that might be available to you as a student at a particular institution. So there's a variety of reasons. And then also in general, because summer programs tend to be shorter, sometimes they're more affordable, to be very honest. And so that might be another benefit of a summer program over a semester or a year-long program. So now that we kind of looked at kind of what the benefits might be, there are obviously a lot of things to consider, right? Anytime somebody wants to go abroad, there's a lot of things you can think about. But I think there are a few things that are really beneficial to think about when you're choosing the program. So the first, of course, is what are the visa requirements? So to give you an example, many non-credit programs don't require, or you can travel on a visitor visa. You can travel on a tourist visa, which may or may not be easier than obtaining some sort of a student visa. So taking into consideration the visa requirement is very important when kind of thinking about what program you want and kind of the timeline for registering. Secondly, right, the dates and the duration. So I know that many South American countries do have a break in July, which is obviously when in the US a lot of our summer programs take place, but our summer programs can start as early as June and can extend into August. And so depending on where your break from your home institution is, or when it is, you need to make sure that it overlaps nicely with, your break overlaps nicely with the program that's being offered in the United States. Another thing to look at is, of course, the cost and if financial aid is available. And I know one question students are guaranteed to ask is, well, what kind of financial aid is available for international students? And I'll just answer that up front by saying it really varies. So on our own campus, as an example, there are sometimes international student scholarships offered for credit programs. They are not typically full scholarships, so it's not necessarily the opportunity to have, like we say in English, a full ride, meaning everything is paid for, but it may be a portion of the tuition that you would need to pay. I know for some of our other programs, there typically isn't an international student scholarship, at least offered by the university. Now, there are sometimes scholarships available from kind of like outside organizations that are specifically catering to international students. And so those are things you could look into. And one of the best resources for that is to reach directly out to the program coordinator that you're looking to apply to and ask them what's available. Of course, go straight to the source. So cost and financial aid is, of course, a factor. Another factor is the focus, right? So if you're looking specifically to work on your English language skills, does it have an English language component? If you're very interested in engineering, is it something that's going to give you experience or connections in the engineering field? So making sure it's an investment of your time and money. So making sure that it's the right fit for what you hope to get out of the program. Also, as a result of the pandemic, as you can imagine, a lot of programs were virtual for a while. Now they're coming back into in-person, but some of them have actually maintained either an entirely virtual or a hybrid experience. And so if maybe cost is a factor or time is a factor, maybe one of those hybrid experiences, meaning some of it's virtual and some of it's in person, or maybe entirely virtual, but where you still get the chance to connect with the institution and students in the US, is what you need. It will fit your needs. So kind of being open to that possibility. I know a lot of us are very tired probably of virtual experiences, right? Because we had this abrupt change from in-person to virtual experiences, but in a sense, some of those are actually very beneficial, right? Because they provide opportunities at a reduced cost. They provide opportunities to still connect with people and resources while not necessarily having to leave your home country. And then another thing is acceptance rates. So this is kind of a small factor, I think, but it is still something. Some programs are competitive, meaning that not everyone who applies and pays is able to get in. So just kind of keeping that in mind, and if you want that to be part of your experience, that it's a competitive process to get in, and kind of making sure you know what the requirements are and kind of what the expectation is in order to be accepted is very important. And again, all these things you can learn simply by reaching out directly to the contact at the particular program you're looking for. Now, let's take a look at, is there a question quick?
Hi, Sarah. Sorry, no, I just wanted to make sure to let you know that we're looking at the how to choose a summer program slides still. Just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss your other slides.
No,
Didn't want to interrupt. All right, great. Yeah,
thank you though for bringing that up. Yep.
perfect.
And so the last, and I will be moving on now to the next slide. So the last slide is the last point, sorry, is where to search for summer programs. And this I want to advance because I want to show you, in addition to just a general Google search, right, of course, of like pre-college programs in the United States or, study abroad in the United States in summer. This is actually a website. This Summer Study in the USA website is a great resource for inserting specific filters that you might be interested in order to find a summer program in the United States. So of course, in addition to your EducationUSA office, this website has a really nice kind of way to filter out what specifically you're looking for and help you find a program that might be a good fit for you. So let's take a look now at moving specifically into talking about Madison. So like I said at the beginning, I wanted to just kind of give you an overview of things to consider when studying abroad in the summer. And now I want to transition a little bit more into specifically telling you about Madison and UW-Madison, since that's where I work and where I am most familiar. But I think a lot of what you'll see in this section would apply to many institutions, similar opportunities. So let's start by just introducing you to Madison. So Wisconsin, has anyone heard of Wisconsin prior to me putting it on the slide right now, out of curiosity? Yeah, okay. All right, at least one. So a lot of people actually haven't heard of Wisconsin. We are located, as you can see, kind of in the we're in the section of the Midwest. As you can see from this smaller map, Madison itself is about 2.5 hours north of Chicago. Most people have heard of Chicago because it's quite a big city. But Madison is the capital of the state of Wisconsin. And here's a picture. The picture I showed you before was kind of from this region down here, which is our campus, all of this. And then down here you can see is more of our like governmental center. And so Madison itself has a population of about 300,000 people. So it's big enough, as I like to think, to be cool and fun and have a lot going on, but it's small enough to not have kind of some of the hurdles or headaches that I think sometimes come along with being in a really, really big city. So Madison's a great place to be and study. So let me show you a little bit about UW-Madison in particular. So our campus, as you can see from these pictures, we experience the 4 seasons. So summer is an awesome time of year to be at UW-Madison. But if your availability leads you towards fall or spring or winter, things are always happening and great in Madison. It's just definitely a different experience. So a little background on our institution. So UW-Madison itself was founded in 1848, which ironically is the same year that we became a state. So the university and the state kind of came to be at the same time. We have over 47,000 students who come from 130 different countries. So a very, very diverse campus. As you can see, we have over 7,000 international students on our campus. We have 8 different schools and colleges and offer 125 different majors, and then majors as undergraduates, and then as graduate students, there's a huge variety of opportunities for graduate students and research. So a little bit of kind of ranking information, because I do know that some people find this of value, although I know that Education USA, and I absolutely support this as well, that it's very important to find your best fit institution more than anything else, right? Because a very large institution may have a ton of wonderful awards, but if they don't align with specifically what you're looking for, then it might not be the best fit, whereas there might be another institution that is a better fit. So, but it is also, I think, interesting to note some of these things. So the first is that UW-Madison has had over 20 of their alumni earn Nobel Prizes for a wide variety of things. So pretty impressive there. Something interesting about Madison is that this past year, we were actually labeled as the #1 place to live in the United States for mid-sized cities. And that was for a variety of things. That was for opportunities in education, job opportunities, safety, access to, nature and focus on the environment. So a wide variety of things went into that ranking, but it just goes to show that Madison is a really great place to be and study. UW-Madison is a major research institution. What that means is our staff and students are very focused on research. And in 2019, we were mentioned as, or we earned 8th position as for research expenditures. So we do quite a bit of research on our campus. As far as being a public institution, we were ranked 13th, and by world rankings, we were ranked 25th in this last 2021. So I'd like to move in now to talking to you a bit more about specifically your opportunities and as an international student to learn on our campus, both throughout the year and specifically in summer. So I myself work for the Visiting International Student Program. This is a program that coordinates 2 different kind of branches of study abroad experience. The first is students who come for non-degree seeking, meaning you're not going to earn your full degree on campus, but you are going to have the opportunity to earn credit. And this can come in the form of an academic year, a semester, or a summer, so a 4 or 6 week program. And then we also have non-credit opportunities. So non-credit opportunities are just what the name implies, that they're opportunities where you can come, live on campus, and have an experience that doesn't earn you necessarily credit to transfer back to your institution, but it gives you a great opportunity to dive into a specific field that you might be interested. Often these non-credit programs have an English language component, and they tend to be a little bit more affordable simply because they're not credit-bearing programs. So they're a really good alternative to somebody who might be looking at cost as a factor and maybe a shorter experience, but still getting the opportunity to come abroad. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a look at summer term specifically, since that's kind of what the focus is for today. So at Madison, we call kind of all of our summer courses summer term. And these courses, you can enroll in them basically by taking classes alongside current UW-Madison students. So what that means is that they're programs that are specifically designed for international students to be in classes with students at UW-Madison, both local and international, who are taking classes over the summer. And what's really great about this is not only does it give you the true experience of a student on campus, as far as being in the same classes, but also you get to engage in and reap the benefit of all the benefits and campus resources that exist to the other degree-seeking students on our campus. So, meaning you are able to use libraries, computer and sports facilities. You have full access to essentially everything a student on our campus has. You also get the official transcript with the credits that you've earned through UW-Madison, and then you also become an official UW alumni. So if you're not familiar with the word alumni, what an alum is somebody who has graduated from a particular institution. Now, well, with some of these programs, you don't earn your full degree and graduate per se. By having taken a credit course, you are now part of the network of Wisconsin Badgers, as we call ourselves. And that gives you the opportunity to really utilize some of those connections that you will make both on campus and once you leave to the larger network that exists kind of across the globe. So let's take a look at a couple of the sessions just to kind of give you an idea. And again, this is very similar to many larger institutions as far as kind of the timeline. So you can kind of look at this and understand that this can translate to other institutions as well. So in summer, there tend to be a couple different offerings as far as length of classes. So keep in mind also that summer courses, because they are shorter, tend to be a little bit more intense, as in time consuming, right? because instead of 15 weeks in which to give you the information, now we have 8 or 4 weeks in which to teach you the same amount of material. So it is definitely a commitment on behalf of the student to participate in a summer course, but it's a really awesome experience. So as you can see here, some of our 8-week programs, as an example, include things like courses in math and engineering, environmental studies, computer sciences. Some of our 4-week classes, which as you can see, some run from June to mid-July, and then from a little bit later in July on to August. These can include, again, a wide variety of courses: political science, sociology, language and culture, theater and drama. So really a lot of the courses that could be available to you, or at least the topics over the course of the regular school year, can be available to you in the summer. So let's take a look at, should something like this be of interest to you? Meaning, if you are interested in a summer study abroad opportunity that earns credit, there are some requirements, right? And so let's take a look at what these might be. So first of all, one thing that's very important on our campus is that it is required that if you want to enroll as a college student in the summer, you have to have at least one semester at your home institution. So what that means is that you can't graduate from high school and immediately enroll in one of these summer opportunities. You need to have at least one semester at your home institution before you would apply. And the reason is that we need to see some sort of a transcript to evaluate your grade point average during that semester or more from your home institution. And it needs to be at least a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. As far as language, there is a language requirement because, again, you're in classes with local students. All the classes are in English. So you do need to have some evidence of language proficiency, a certain level of language proficiency. And so there are a wide variety of scores you could submit. You, of course, don't have to submit all of them. You choose one and submit this along with your application. So let's take a look at the cost of attendance, because of course this is an important component. And keep in mind, again, we're looking at credit-bearing courses only. So this is not the non-credit option I had mentioned. But for an undergraduate student in some of those programs I mentioned a few slides ago, either the 4 or 8-week sessions, the estimated cost of tuition and fees, and those fees are what give you access to the libraries and all of the services on campus as a student, for 4 weeks are just under $5,000, and for 8 weeks just under about $10,000. And then we also like to incorporate living expenses because, of course, you need to live somewhere while you're attending your classes, and so it's good to factor that in as part of the cost. And so you can see that overall the cost is listed here at the bottom. Now, one thing that's important to know, because students might be interested, well, where do I live when I come to campus for the summer? UW-Madison and many larger institutions have on-site dormitories for students. Many of them can be, with a roommate. Some of them can be individual if you prefer your own room, and it really kind of depends on the specific program and what's available at that time. But campus does have housing available to you, and that is what kind of the living expenses are estimated on. And living in campus dorms is a really awesome way, right, to meet other students, both international and local students, to be right on campus. Campus is very walkable in the summer, absolutely. And so it's great to just be there on campus right away and have access to everything right nearby. So it's highly recommended that you live on campus during your summer experience. Okay, so let's transition into looking at high school student programs. So we were looking just now at undergraduate opportunities to earn credit over the summer. Now I want to transition into looking specifically at the high school student programs. So high school student programs come in a couple different forms. So there's either 2 virtual on our campus, 2 virtual opportunities, and 2 in-person opportunities. And they really just have different kind of focus. So you need to decide what would be most appropriate for you. So the first is our virtual EducationUSA Academy Connects program, which I'll talk about more extensively on the next slide. But as you can see, that's a smaller commitment. It's, of course, virtual, smaller as in smaller amount of time. It's an affordable program that is offered for several weeks, either from June to July, or again, at the very end of July into August. We also have a Badger Pre-College online. So this is a program where you get to really kind of delve into the college experience virtually. So you get to pick a specific kind of field or major that you want to explore, And over the course of the month, you really get to explore that through their online courses. Then we have a couple on-campus programs. So these are where you would actually come and live on campus. We have our Badger Summer Scholars, which again is a focus of kind of a pre-college experience like you would experience were you a student here at the university. So you get the chance to live on campus, choose some areas that you would like to study in, and over the course of 3 weeks, really get to explore those areas of interest academically. And then our last program is the Accelerated Learning Program, or ALPS as we call it. ALPS is somewhat similar, but it's much more intensive. So I think what really sets ALPS apart is that it's really meant for those students who love intense academic experiences. And for 3 weeks, they choose a specific track that they want to participate in, and you really engage with your peers in projects, and very, very engaging. It's very much like experiential learning, meaning it's not just sitting and receiving information in a lecture. It's very much actively engaged, but it's definitely more intense than the other 3 programs that you see on the screen. So here's just a look really quick at specifically the EducationUSA virtual program that I mentioned, the first bullet point on the last slide. So this focus is on STEM. And as you can see, there are 2 different opportunities here to learn, both of which take place in the evening Central Time. So that would be about 2 hours behind Brazil right now. So right now in Brazil, 3:30, 3:45-ish. And this would have been, 2 hours prior to that. So the registration deadline is about a month away. And really what this program focuses on gives you the chance to hear from professionals in different STEM fields and ask them questions and learn about their success stories and kind of how they got to the point that they did. You'll get to connect with a lot of UW-Madison students and staff. So in addition to just kind of the STEM component, there's also about 30 minutes each time that you meet that focuses on connecting you with different staff on campus that can answer questions about admissions or the student experience. And so it's just a really awesome opportunity to both explore STEM, make a lot of connections, and also learn about kind of some of more of the practical components of interest in studying abroad. So again, those admissions components, learning about admissions and other things that would be helpful in helping you determine if you want to, in the future, actually come to a campus and study. And I should mention, and you may have noted that at the bottom of all of these slides is the website that links you directly to some other more detailed information about each of these programs. So let's kind of wrap up. So I want to take a moment and just kind of look back. This is actually one of our, prior to the pandemic, we had an Education USA Academy group on our campus. And these students actually were from 10 different countries, 10 students, 9 different countries that came on campus and learned for 3 weeks at UW-Madison. But so this is a badger. Bucky Badger is our mascot, which is why you see the word badger and this picture all over the place. But let's take just kind of a debrief and look at kind of what the benefits are of studying abroad, in particular a summer program, and then at UW-Madison. So the first of which is that, as I mentioned earlier, UW-Madison is a very highly renowned research institution. So the opportunity to study on our campus really gives you the chance to connect with a lot of students and faculty and learn from people who are doing pretty top-notch research in their fields. And so it's a great opportunity to make a lot of connections. It gives you the opportunity either on our campus or to any campus you go to. Keep in mind that your experience abroad is not just your 3 weeks or your semester or your year, but it's all those connections that you make that you can carry forward into future searches for jobs, future searches for, if you're a pre-college student, for university opportunities or for graduate student opportunities. So there's a really great opportunity to not only live in the moment for those few weeks on a campus, but extend that to connections with people who have already graduated or connections you make on campus that are still on campus to help you in the future. That kind of leads into number 3, which is you can utilize your experience on future applications. So I mentioned that earlier, that by going abroad and overcoming the hurdles and challenges of being an international student in a place that you may not have been before, it provides a whole variety of skills that you might not have otherwise gained. And that's a really useful experience that you can mention on future applications. And then, of course, I think one of the most important parts, is just connecting us globally, So people from around the world come to programs and are able to connect, in person or virtually But it gives you the chance to meet people from around the world and share culture and share ideas and hopefully carry those connections forward. So that being said, I'll turn my video back on. That is the conclusion of my presentation, but I'm more than happy to stay here and answer any questions you have. My email is here so that if over the course of our questions, if there's one I can't seem to answer for you off the top of my head, I'm more than happy to find the information for you and send it to you. So you're welcome to send me also questions directly to my email. But thank you so much for logging on, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time. Go ahead, Diana.
Yeah, Diana. I was just trying to, maybe this is like not a very good question, but about the visa. So it's like, do they need a student visa for the summer programs, or the tourist one is okay?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So for the credit bearing courses, yes. And I'm actually glancing at my notes because I specifically don't work in the credit field, but you do need an F1 or J1 visa, yes. And you need to be enrolled full time, which for summer is an abbreviated, or I should say a reduced amount of credits, right? Because they're just much more intense. So it's typically 3 to 4 credits. It says actually you need to be taking 3 credits in a 4-week course and 6 credits in an 8-week course in order to be considered full-time and meet the requirements of those visas.
So that would be just for the credit ones.
Correct. Yep. So for the pre-college, because you're not earning credit, those you should be able to come on a visitor, like a tourist visa. But what I can do is follow up with you and make sure that that's the case. So if you want to either send me an email, or if you feel comfortable putting in the chat, I can absolutely reach out to the pre-college coordinator and let you know exactly what visa would be required. And it could be that maybe the virtual programs will require the virtual programs of course require different, but the pre-college versus the ALPS, the one that was a little more intense, because of potential credit opportunities, the visa may be different. So let me get that information for you.
All right.
Good question. Any other questions?
That was a really good question, Diana. Thank you so much. I actually was curious about the visas too. I am also curious about, you showed us one slide, Sarah, where you talked about the different areas in which people could take courses for, I think, the credit programs. But could you talk about, whether students from any area might benefit from a short-term program, a summer program in the US, specifically at Wisconsin Madison, or yeah, let me ask that question first, and I have another one.
Sure. So I think that's a very good point. That specifically in the U.S., we have typically a student experience at an undergraduate university, or as an undergraduate student, right? We have a couple of years of what we call general electives before you actually choose your major, right? So I'll just give you a personal example. I was a business major, but yet my first year I was taking classes in soil science and in humanities and in textiles, because the idea is that we really want everyone to have kind of an expanded worldview and kind of know what resources are out there. And then as you get closer to your last 2 years, then you choose your specific major and kind of narrow in on those courses. So I think, to your point, that yes, even if you want to go abroad and maybe either the program you're specifically looking for, that your major of interest isn't available, or you want to try something new, I think there's a lot of value in that, absolutely. Because it's a short enough program that you're not devoting a huge amount of your time to it necessarily, but it gives you the opportunity to make connections in different fields that maybe you hadn't thought would be of interest to you. It also gives you the chance to try something different. I think many times, I'm not sure the exact age that you graduate from high school in Brazil. What is the typical age? Is it 18?
That's a great question. Yeah, 17, 18, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking from personal experience, at 18, which is what I was in the US when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, right? So I think being open to exploring some different fields that maybe you're not sure if you like, but you might have an interest in, is a great thing to do in summer. Again, because it's a smaller commitment, if you take it and you decide, you know what, that was really fun, but I definitely don't want to do that for the rest of my life, that in itself is very valuable information. And I think that it's important to be open to exploring different kinds of courses, in particular in these short-term sessions, to kind of see what you like and what you don't like.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing that insight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My other question, and then we'll see if we have more people wanting to ask questions too, is my other question is I often get inquiries from students who are outside traditional college age. And they're really interested in going to the US and having a short-term academic experience. Do you think this type of program might be recommended for them, or what would you recommend to students who are not traditionally college aged?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I think that that's a great question, because I think there are more and more students like that. So I think a couple things need to be taken into consideration. So the first is, if you're a non-traditional student, I think the first thing is to decide, do you need or want the credit, right? That's kind of the first factor to determine. If you want to study abroad and you don't necessarily need credit per se, then maybe looking at a non-credit opportunity is a great idea. And I specifically work in the non-credit arena, and many times we see a lot of those non-traditional students there because they don't necessarily need the credit, but are more looking for the experience. Maybe it's, you know, a reduced cost factor that's appealing to them. But looking at non-credit maybe first is an option if credit is not a requirement for you. If credit is a requirement for you, then I think absolutely it's a valuable experience. I think you just need to go with the understanding that most likely you will be with students who are primarily of a certain age group. And if your intention is to learn and kind of experience what academic life is like, that's great. And just know that there will be, on a campus in particular, such as Madison, I can speak to Madison because that's where I'm from and I work. It's a huge campus. There are people of all ages and walks of life on Madison's campus. So while they might not all necessarily be in the specific credit class you're taking, there are opportunities to connect with people similar to you. And that would be something that once you get enrolled or express interest in a specific program, that would be a great question to ask the coordinator. Explain a little bit your situation about being a non-traditional student, see if they have specific recommendations, or if outside of the class itself, they have recommendations on how you might be able to connect with people who maybe are a little bit more similar to you if that's what you're looking for. So I think, yes, it's a value, and it might just take a little bit more research to really connect with those students who are kind of in the same point in life that you might be.
Perfect. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? And again, I'll just throw out there, I know this program heavily focused on summer because we're on the verge of summer here in the US, but I'm more than happy to connect you with anyone for something that's not summer. So if you're interested in fall, or interested in a non-credit program, or interested in, you know, a year-long opportunity, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'm happy to put you in touch with the right person who could answer those questions for you. Because there's a wealth of information, and sometimes it's hard. We have an expression in English, you can go down a rabbit hole, meaning you can look and look and look and look, and it's sometimes easier to just go to one person and say, please help me find this. And I'm more than happy to connect you with the people that will answer your question directly.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being available to do that as well, Sarah. So your email is shared with everyone who's here today at the session, and also who's watching the session online. So people will be sure to reach out to you by email. If we don't have other questions, and if it's okay with you, Sarah, I think we can start moving towards wrapping up our session for today. Yeah, so thank you so much for all that you shared with us. It was incredibly informative. And I will bring a lot of this information to the students who reach out to our office, you know, asking about summer programs. And I'm sure, you know, it'll benefit a lot of people who will also see it on our YouTube channel. And I look forward to our next event already, Sarah. So, you know, thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I hope everybody has a good afternoon.
thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Boa tarde a todos. Tenham um ótimo resto de semana. A gente fica por aqui. Tchau, tchau, gente.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.